Okay, friends, I have gone deep down the ergonomics rabbit hole here, but with good reason. I'm not a keyboard aficionado in the sense that I'm just trying to do something cool or interesting. This isn't a passion of mine in the sense of some people, modding keyboards and such as their hobby. I get it. As I've gone deeper down into it, I've become much more interested and understand switches and sounds and the level of effort and force and the difference between the different types of software that are involved and whatnot. And it's made a big difference as I've learned more. But this is really more of a, hey, my wrists really hurt or my hands really hurt and I need to be at a computer all day. How did you decide on your split ortholinear keyboard layout? And when I say ortholinear, we'll just zoom in case you're completely new to this. I mean that the keys are up and down. They're not staggered like you would see on a typical keyboard layout where they kind of crisscross back and forth, which creates a stretching motion a lot with your fingers. Versus this, you kind of type in up and downs versus the crossover. You have a little bit of it, but not extreme reach. Everything's just kind of right there, and then you rely on your thumbs a lot more. And this is just one specific layout. This is the MoErgo MoErgo Glove80, and so for instance, backspace and shift for me are on my thumb cluster. I've customized this to work for me and how I like it. And then over here on this side, I have enter and space. And then obviously some additional buttons too. But these are the ones that are doing the heavy lifting. So they're just right here. So instead of reaching over for backspace, granted it's on this side, but instead of reaching over with my right pinky and smashing the backspace key over and over throughout the day, or maybe reaching over to hit shift with my pinky, I'm doing it right here with my thumb, my strongest finger. So that's the advantage of these sort of keyboards. But really the point of this is I'm going to just talk about the pros and cons between them to help you decide with the criteria. There will be other videos on YouTube where you can find more detailed reviews of each one of these keyboards and their strengths and weaknesses. I'll talk about a little bit of that. I won't go into the software or anything in great detail other than just mentioning it. But the point of this is to help you decide which one is best for you. So the first keyboard I bought was actually the MoErgo Glove80, and Reddit and a lot of times on YouTube, people that had tried these different keyboards seemed to land on this one. And I was like, you know what, I'll try it. But I must confess, this was my first venture into an ortholinear keyboard. And I got it and I used Glove80's software that they recommend to try to program it, and found it very cumbersome, hard to use, comfortable. I mean, I was immediately struck with how comfortable it is. And one of the things that you'll learn with this is that we spend a lot of time, there's a lot of marketing for wrist rests, where you rest in the middle of your wrist. No, rest on your palm like this. So these keyboards that prioritize a palm rest rather than resting on your wrist are dramatically more comfortable. So that's something that you can even try to do, even if you're not going down this total ortholinear layout. Make sure you're resting on your palm, because that will make a big difference in your overall wrist usage throughout the day and help quite a bit. So I noticed it was immediately comfortable, didn't like the software, really hated the tenting solution, which are these little thumb screws under there on these legs. You just screw them in, screw them out. The build quality was fine, meaning like it's not bad, but I mean, you can kind of hear it. It's just not really inspiring either for an expensive keyboard. I got the plum cherry switches, which are really light and really quiet. Can hear that. Great switches. They are very low effort. I love them. Almost actually took me a little while to get used to how low effort they were because I was hitting some missed keys. I didn't like that there was no homing key, so I actually took a blank key and a wood burner and then burned a little tiny divot into my homing keys. That's made a big difference. So that way when I'm not looking at the keyboard, I can actually just rehome. But the software and the tenting kind of threw me off with this. And again, like I said, it was my first experience. So I was like, whatever, I'm gonna, I'll sell one of these on eBay type of thing. So then I bought the Kinesis Advantage 360 Pro, Pro meaning that it is Bluetooth. It's no different than the 360 Advantage except that it's Bluetooth. I got this one custom made. That's not like a really big deal. It's black, and then I get to choose my switches. I think there's like a $20 difference, and you have to wait longer. It's not like a, whatever, big thing. PBT keycaps, and these are the MX Cherry switches. Definitely lower force and longer travel than these chalk style switches that are very shallow and very quiet. I like these though. This is what I had been typing on. I had been typing on a Kinesis, what is it? The Kinesis Freestyle Edge RGB, which is, they market it as their gaming keyboard, but it's a split, QWERTY, staggered style layout. So the only thing that's different is that it does have tinting on it, just like this. It is split, but it's a standard QWERTY layout, standard staggered keys. That helped, but it wasn't, I was still having significant wrist pain. It would wake me up in the night. I wasn't able to do other work around the house, my DIY projects. So that's what put me on this journey. This is the build quality on this is phenomenal. This probably weighs 4 pounds, 3 pounds. I don't know. I'm not a very good judge of lightweight, especially. But there's a little button here. You can change your tinting angle. I usually just type with it like that and found it incredibly comfortable. These are magnetic and removable, but they stick on there really good. They don't slide. Very comfortable. I would say don't buy these. If you do end up going this direction, don't buy these unless you realize that you need them. This is incredibly comfortable. Back to the whole palm rest thing. This is fine. The only reason that I have found these to be helpful is it changed my angle a little bit, and it helped me with the thumb cluster. Did nothing to change my comfort in my palm, really. I mean, it feels nice, but it didn't really change anything at the end of the day. Didn't change my typing with my fingers, but it did lift my thumb up, and as a result, I was getting a little discomfort in my thumb, and this fixed it. So having that additional angle and support under my thumb, as you can see, I'm kind of kinking my thumb a little bit, bending it awkwardly, and then floating it slightly to hit these keys. And again, I have the same layout here. I have a lot of extra keys, but really the same layout where my space and enter are right here, which is really all I'm using. And then I have home row mods on these different keys. If you're not familiar with home row mods, pretty easy. So for instance, on my index keys, I actually have a tap layer option. So if I tap it, it's going to be J. But then if I hold it for, X number of milliseconds, I think it's like 300 milliseconds is what I have it at, it will switch layers on me. So then when I switch layers, I tap and hold this, then I can do other functions or special characters with this key or this side of the half of the keyboard without needing to lift from my mouse or, reach and do some awkward hand combination. I have this on this side too. So for instance, this one is a tap layer option. So then over here, I have my up, down, left, and right, which is really nice because then it's right there on my home row, and I'll just tap and hold the F key over here, which is that one that's burned in. And then I've got my arrow keys, which that was something that always annoyed me, reaching down here trying to use my arrow keys. So now it's the kind of familiar layout that I'm used to. And this is command and left arrow, and this is command and right arrow, which is something I use all the time too. So to go to the end of a line or to the start of the line really easily. So that speeds it up. So these are my layer tap hold options. This is, if I tap it, it's K, obviously. And then if I hold it, it becomes command. It becomes the, not the command, what is it called on Mac? Yeah, command, yeah, the little cloverleaf key. It becomes command. That one becomes command. This one becomes alt or option on Mac, and then this one becomes control. So they're normal key when they're tapped, and then they become those other modifiers when I hold them. So that's how that works. Pretty cool. But I have that exact same setup on all of these. So I switched away from the Glove80 after using it for a week or two. Again, I was learning to type on ortholinear on this, and learning the software, and learning about home row mods, and learning all this stuff, and just got kind of frustrated with the software and the niggles of it, that I ended up And then the tenting, I was just mad. I was like, forget it. Let me get something easier. So I got the Kinesis Advantage 360 Pro. I did find it easier to learn, at least the basics of it. And the keys with like a true homing row, and even, the different color of the homing keys, and just the familiar MX style switch was very familiar to me, and I learned it faster. So I started working on this one, and it didn't take me long before I started realizing, oh, this is really cool, and like start modding it. And then I discovered Nick Conso's, I believe his name, Nick Conso's GitHub branch for his customization software. We don't have to use Kinesis software. Totally recommend. It is way better. I'll have to make a video on that. Let me know, comments below, if you would like a video, kind of a every man, every woman's guide to customizing your keyboard, not the nerdy guide where you have to, do 3 years of reading to learn about it. I'd be happy to make that. Just let me know. I discovered that software and began modding this keyboard and loved it. But I did have Bluetooth issues with it, where it would work fine, and then suddenly, especially the right half would become unpaired from the left half, and I couldn't get it to repair to it. I would shut it off, turn it on, shut it off, turn it on, do all the different stuff. I eventually had to once reload new firmware on it, and then that fixed it and began working again. And then the final straw is it's really big. And there's two things behind that. One is that I often work in a coffee shop, maybe once a week, or I'm also traveling. I work remote, and then sometimes I'll travel for meetings or different things like that. And this is honking big. Not bad if it lives at your desk all the time, but it was a really big deal to take this out at a coffee shop because I just looked like such a loser, or very cool, depending on your perspective. To set this up at a little coffee table, because once you start learning the ortholinear layout, I don't care what anyone tells you, the staggered layout, the traditional keyboard layout, becomes very foreign to you. It's not as bad as like learning ortholinear the first time, in the sense of like your keyboarding will be terrible, for several weeks or even several months. But when I go back to a traditional staggered keyboard, my efficiency goes way down. So I really need to stay ortholinear, both for my hand pain and also because I just lose my productivity. So that realization, how big this was, the Bluetooth issues. And another thing with the big that I wanted to mention, I had in my notes here, is that there's a height difference. So when you adjust your desk, you want to have your wrist resting on the pad like this, so it's level. So you don't have, you're not doing this and you're not doing this. You want to just be kind of level, 90-degree angles, so your forearm and your wrist are all aligned. Well, because this sits so high, that in turn means that my mouse was down here. So with my vertical mouse, I'm now, kind of doing this, or with a trackball, I'm also kind of doing this, where the height levels aren't the same. So then I was bringing some sort of a pad or a riser to bring my mouse up, so that way my arms could stay straight. And again, I have a nasty RSI that I'm trying to treat. Your journey might not be that extreme. But for me, like, I would have really intense pain, not because of the keyboard, but because the keyboard is so tall, that then I was trying to figure out what to do with my mouse in the interim. So then I had for a long time been looking at the ZSA Voyager. A number of my friends have this, and VSA is amazing. They make really good software that's so easy to use. Their build quality is, just amazing. This is like metal or aluminum on the bottom. I put some cat's tongue tape on here. Highly recommend that, by the way. It's very expensive, but it is so grippy. I put that on the bottom here, and it keeps it from sliding at all. There are rubber pads on this, but the cat's tongue just makes it way better. And my thought was, you know what? If I'm ortholinear and I'm not stretching for my pinky and I'm just using the thumbs, maybe this is the answer. Maybe this is all I need for my keyboard. So let me just say, build quality is fantastic. The software is super easy to use. This is amazingly portable, obviously. I mean, it's wafer thin. They include a little travel pouch, but even if you don't have that or have another small little case you want to put this in, it works. It's not embarrassing to sit up at a coffee shop and you can just cruise on it. Love this keyboard. I have the Red Pros on here, which you can hear are a little noisy, but not bad. Certainly a lot louder than the Cherry Reds on here. They sound a little clicky. They're not. These are linear. There's no click to them. It's just the keycap, I think. But obviously a lot louder than these on the Plum Cherry Blossoms, I believe. I love this keyboard. It's a joy to type on. I really enjoyed it. I tried all sorts of different wrist rests. I'll just snap this off here. This is not it, but different things like this. And what I found is, let me see if I can demonstrate. And again, your mileage may vary. Like all three of these are great keyboards. But for me, what I found was that when I type, look at my pinky knuckle. See how it caves in? I would often find myself operating my pinky and I would look down and I have pain and see that it would kind of cave in. So I tried some different palm rests and pads and some ones that are like this, but thicker to try to support that pinky. I even tried sliding it over so it's just that side. And it seemed like whatever I did, I still end up getting a little bit of pain there. I did end up grabbing some different palm rests here. This is a good one, just an Amazon thing, not a big deal. But I ultimately ended up liking this just little cheapy guy here, and I would do this where it was under the side of my palm like that, so not really under my thumb. And this was pretty comfortable overall, but I still just, it wasn't as comfortable as the Glove80 or the Kinesis. So I kept kicking back and forth like, man, so I kind of written off, I just kind of forgotten about this. It was in my closet, and was looking at these two and I was like, I really want this to work. It's so portable. I like it at my desk. I like it at the coffee shop. I like it for travel. The software is great. Like, you don't have to wait on GitHub to flash the files. You just press a little button here and say save to the keyboard. And a few seconds later, it's on the keyboard. Like, oh man, it was just great. But the pain was back. Not as bad. This is way more comfortable. So if you're not having a lot of pain or any pain, I would just say get this one. Give it a try. It's great. If you are having pain though, I would say it's probably not the keyboard for you. Not because of the build quality or the software or the design or anything like that. Just simply because there is something to be said for this tinted and key scooped layout here that is just very comfortable on the Glove80 and on the Advantage 360. So it does have a tinting thing. There's little magnets that can snap into those holes down there at the bottom that makes it come up about a ½ inch or so. It's nice, but again, I experimented with all of that, and again, I found that I wasn't as comfortable and was realizing, man, I don't know what I'm gonna do because this guy's annoying me like crazy, and then trying to block the mouse up and traveling with it's a pain. And then I remember the Nick Kutzo's software that I was using and loved for this? Maybe it supports the Glove80, and lo and behold, it does. So I was able to avoid using the Glove80 version of the software and use Nick Kutzo's software. Sorry, Nick, if I'm saying your name wrong. I love you. I really appreciate what you've built. It's so helpful. And I basically have the exact same setup between this one, and this one. So I can go between them very quickly, and that allowed me to test them. And what I realized was, once I got past the wobbly feet and getting them kind of sorted out where I wanted them, once I got past making a little homing button so I could find my keys without looking, and once I had Nick Kutzo's software to make my home row mods and my layer tapping, that was actually already there, but in the Kinesis software, but the home row mods and all the customizations that I wanted very easy, that I just fell in love with this. It's very light. The profile is way lower. It's still scooped, but it's way lower. So I don't really need any changes in my mouse structure here. I've got a little beanbag thing that I'm trying right now with my Elecom Def, not the Pro. It's actually a hardwired mouse where I've replaced the bearings on it, like that mouse. But I'm also trying a bunch of others. Wait for a video. It's coming, I'm sure. I don't get anything from this. This is just me trying to help someone else learn from my mistakes and what I've learned along the way, kind of an everyman's guide to ergonomics. So I hope this is a help. This is now my daily driver and I'm not regretting it. I can type fast on it. It's so comfortable. I do love the plum cherry blossom switches. They're so light and quiet, but still tactile enough that I can feel my keystrokes very easily. MoErgo, I love your Glove80. If there was any complaint or thing that I would ask you to do is one, look at Nick Kutzo's software, see if you can adopt that or just even recommend it in your documentation. I know that Kinesis just started doing that, mentioning it as, hey, you might try this if you need some advanced features. Additionally, I would love to see you guys add maybe an aluminum bottom plate or just better, you can see again that cat tongue tape that I've got on there. I'm not tinting this, but like for instance, I have to adjust these thumb screws back to the build quality a little bit because they're warped. This keypad is a different height than this one. So if I screw my thumb screws all the way in or my tilting screws, this one's on the ground like it should be, and this one wobbles. So I have to adjust them. So again, that kind of just goes back to not so much build quality, but the plastics they've chosen. I'm not worried about this falling apart. It's not like that. And ultimately, my deciding factor is comfort at the end of the day. So it is durable, I think. I think it'll survive well. But if you're tinting, it is a pain to deal with. It takes a while. Battery life is terrible on this if you have RGB turned on. I turn it off if I'm ever traveling. I turn it on when I'm back at my desk plugged in. But just something to note. MoErgo, I would love to see one that's closer to the Voyager with the number of keys to make it even a little bit smaller. Like maybe a clump thruster. Wow, a thumb cluster of 4 keys. Frankly, I'm fine with 2 because of layer tapping, modding and stuff, but I recognize you kind of already got the space here, so maybe why not? But I don't really need this. It's very hard to reach that last one anyway. I'm almost exclusively just using those 2. Don't use the function row at all. Not really using this bottom row either. Yeah, I would love to see this scooped keywell design on something kind of more or less the size of the ZSA Voyager, where you're adopting some of the build quality, maybe an aluminum bottom plate or just better plastic. The tinting solution, I actually think there's a lesson to be learned here from the VSA as well, with these little magnetic feet that snap in here. I think it would be awesome, MoErgo, if you guys would replace this design or put a magnetic base plate in here and maybe color code them or something like that. And then you still maybe even have the M4 screw, but then you can thread it in and out. And then when you're done, you set these feet to a permanent height on that magnet. And then when you want to travel, you just snap the magnets off along with the M4 post, toss it in your bag. And then when you get to the coffee shop or whatever, it's like yellow goes here, red goes there, blue goes there, green goes here, something like that, where it's very easy, at least to get set in the long term. Might still be a little fiddly to get there, but once you are there, you're not constantly having to adjust it. I don't want to do tinting because I can't put it in my bag where it doesn't fit in the carrying case if it's tinted, and I'm not going to fiddle with that every time. Woo! All that to say, all 3 are good keyboards. I understand why you would like either any of them or have a preference towards one or the other. I have thoughts on all of them. But for me, I hate to sound like a fanboy because I know a lot of people are saying this. At the end of the day, the Glove80 ended up being my favorite. Took a while to get there. It's almost been 3 months in this journey. I'm now very proficient. I'm back to about 75, 80 words per minute with essentially no errors at that speed. Or at least I'm correcting my errors, I should say, but still getting 75, 80 words per minute corrected. I am fastest on this, a little slower on this, and slightly slower on this, but on all of them, I'm still within, a very acceptable, 65, 70 words per minute. I hope that's a help. Let me know if you have questions. Again, I don't get any compensation from this. This is just me trying to save you hours of researching and testing. If you do get this one, I recommend looking at this layout here with the thumb idea and then layer switching and then home row mods. I'll try to make that video. Again, comment if you want that, if that's interesting to you, for kind of a layman's guide of how to set up home row mods on, it's actually for any a VMK, is that right? VMK? Yeah, VMK software or VMK firmware keyboard. So that includes this guy here and this guy here. They're running VMK in the background. So you can use Nick Kutzo's software for either one. Works the same way, so I could make a video on that. But this guy here forced me to get more comfortable with switching and layers and stuff because I didn't have as many keys. And that creativity made me love this keyboard more, and it made me love this keyboard more, and really love that keyboard as well. But it just didn't remedy the pain at the end of the day. Okay, rambly video complete. Yeah, let me know if you'd like to know about ergonomic mice and kind of what I'm up to there as well. Again, I'm not here for show or flash. This is me trying to figure out what works, what's comfortable, what's doable, what's annoying and what's not. You've already seen one video on ergonomic mice. I'm back to exploring some different options as well. Check out my other video if you want to see that. Hopefully it's a help. See ya.